Books with Think Future. So this question goes out to startup founders out there. All of those startup founders out there who are thinking about building a new product, building a new service, building a new app, building something new. You have a great idea. This is an awesome idea. This is the best idea ever. And you want to build this idea. And you think you're going to be able to find product market fit. You think there's a market out there. You think you'll be able to build a product for that market. And you think if you build a product for that market, then they will come. Now, I'm going to give you a little twist to that story, right? Because I believe that that is not as important as first building the audience for that product, or in fact, not even the audience for that product, but the audience for yourself. Here's what I'm thinking, okay? Nowadays, it's easy for anyone to build anything. I know some people might say, oh, it's going to take a lot of money, it's going to take a lot of time, but the reality is that the systems that are in place right now with AWS and the tools that you can use to build mobile apps, it's never been easier. I mean, it could get even easier with the no-code movement, but it's never been easier to build new products and services, new applications. Never been easier. So when you look out there, you're always going to see a lot of very similar services out at the same time. And of those very similar services, some are going to become incredibly successful and some of them aren't. And I think what's happening now is that we've reached a tipping point where the audience, having the audience before you build the product, is almost more important than the product itself. Because the word about the product, and some people call it distribution, the word about the product, the information about the product, the marketing of the product, is more onerous than the actual building of the product. So for example, when you used to say, oh, well, it would take me $25,000 to build this app, now you need to spend 10 times that amount to market the app to the point where people are going to hear about it and they're going to be interested in it and they're going to be able to want to download it and do something with it. So the actual building of the app is not the problem. The problem is the distribution. The problem is getting word of the app out to the audience. And if you don't have a pre-built audience for that product, then it's almost impossible to get the word out. You might get lucky. You might get lucky and be the participant in some viral thing where you send it out there and boom, people pick it up and it's sent all over the place. But you don't think that there were hundreds of services like Instagram? You don't think there were hundreds of services like these services, that not necessarily first movers, but something happened and one of them suddenly built a huge audience and then boom, it became massive and became a unicorn. It became $1 billion business. But if you don't have that audience, if you start with zero audience, then your app is probably not going to get anywhere. So I would suggest that the first thing you need to do is not build an app at all. What you need to do is build an audience for the problem that you're trying to solve and the solution that you're trying to build to solve that problem. Once you've built an audience, then not only will the audience be there for you when you finally do build that product, which is a solution to a problem that they have, they would be able to help you along the way in building that product and shaping that product to the point where it can be built. So instead of starting with the product, instead of starting with the idea and saying, oh, I'm trying to solve a problem that I have, build the audience first. And then once you've built the audience, have the audience help you solve the problem that you're trying to solve for them. Well, how do you build an audience? Well, it's pretty simple. You build an audience by providing some type of content or some type of flag that will draw those individuals in. And you need to spend money to do this. We're not in the days anymore where you can just build an audience at no cost. It's almost impossible to build an audience at no cost unless you're providing some kind of prurient content that people draw to, like food or sex or something like that. Something that appeals to the baser instincts of humanity. If you're providing something that does that, then people will flock to you, no problem. No problem. And if you're hitting a particular niche where you have rabid fans who are totally into the thing that you're trying to do, maybe then you can tap off an existing audience, right? But you need to build, or at least this is my advice to you first, is that before you start thinking about that product, before you start thinking about building that service, before you write a single line of code, try to build the audience that would be interested in buying that product, that service.